Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another session of Free to Heal. We are glad that you can join us this evening. And tonight, we are going to talk about dealing with emotions. One of the reasons it's really relevant right now for all of us is dealing with family circumstances, whether it's good things or not. Emotions always come into play in dealing with family members and in dealing with, so emotions. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. Let me see. Wait, where did it go? Okay, wait a minute. What I'm going to have to do is to get it up on the screen, the one that I wanted to share with you guys. And then we could talk about it. Okay, here we go. Bear with us, folks. Here we go. So emotions are feelings that all people experience. Some common emotions are fear, anger, joy, and sadness. These feelings are often seen in our behavior. They may be mild or very strong. Emotions are usually feelings a person has more or less without thinking. So whatever's going on is not the kind of thing that you rationalize it and you weigh it out whether it makes sense. It's just a feeling that comes. I'll use an example of I have a phobia about being in a car when people are driving too fast and it doesn't seem like they're going to be able to stop and they're going to hit the car in front of them. And that's from having been rear-ended a lot of times. So even though I may ride with you and I know that you're going to stop, my feelings still kick in. The feeling still comes, I get hot all over, it's still a thing. So the feelings are not real. In other words, they're not based in something that's real. They're based in something in my head that continues to happen no matter what is actually real or not. So what happens is I feel these things, but I'm not thinking about them. It just comes as a result of circumstances. Emotions usually include physical reactions such as an increase in blood pressure, muscle tightening, or hormonal responses. This is often in response to something that happens to us. For example, if we feel threatened, these reactions may help us prepare for escape from danger. If we feel safe or attracted to something or someone, we may feel calm or loving. Feeling emotions is natural. We all feel many different emotions every day. We all have felt embarrassment, love, hostility, and anger at one time or another. Sometimes reacting emotionally without thinking can cause a problem. Knowing our emotions and responding appropriately is a skill we all need. Emotions, like other topics we've discussed, may be positive or negative. Many emotions, even anger, are good to recognize and express. In this lesson, we will focus on negative human emotions. These may cause us to overact to a situation in a way that does more harm than good. And so right there, I'm going to just stop. And I want everyone to kind of weigh in just on that particular point alone, namely that emotions often cause us, and negative emotions cause us to respond to things that are not enough in a positive way. And what instances that has happened and what happened. And I'll start with you, Patrick.
I sort of talked about this a few weeks ago, and I talked about it in my anger management. A lot of times when we try to remember memories of the past on how we felt we were maybe taken advantage of or we weren't included in something, we get mad. And it's not that it just happened. It may have happened weeks ago, years ago, decades ago. But what's really strange about this, and you just said it in the explanation, is sometimes we're just as mad now as we were 5-10 years ago. And it's totally it's not really a memory, it's an experience. It sort of gets ingrained in you. And since we were talking about trauma off and on the last 6 months, that stays with you. It's a phobia. Like you said, you've been rear-ended. That's trauma. It's in your memory. It's in your DNA now. It's in the memory, and you just tense up. We as human beings are like that. We remember things that happen, and sometimes, depending on our emotional instability, it's very strong, and we sort of freak out.
Mm-hmm. And can you think of an instance where you let your emotions get the best of you and had a negative reaction?
My negative reaction basically is no longer violence, it's just being more outspoken. And unfortunately, in the society we live in, you can't even be outspoken in something you don't like. You just have to sort of walk away and maybe, scream outside or push a tree, which you're not going to be able to push, but you know what I mean.
Uh-huh.
Part of my anger management ability to handle things is I'll talk about something or say I don't like something to an individual instead of committing violence or force against an individual. It's just one of my coping mechanisms. But unfortunately, with certain people, you can't even do that because it's going to lead to violence. But it's one
Okay.
of my coping mechanisms.
Right. Thank you. Mr. Bradley.
I hate when
Oh, Latanya, you raised your hand?
Yeah, I had a situation about a few weeks ago where an ex of mine, I tried to break up, and they reacted out in like real harsh, like was saying real evil things. And I found myself out of emotions going back and forth with that person saying evil things too.
Mm. And did that only make it extend or go on longer than it needed to?
Yeah, it went on longer than it needed to until I was like, you know what? I'm working a program today. I cannot be doing this.
Yeah. Yeah, because a lot of times people will pull you into their own situation.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not careful, you get caught up in their mess that has nothing to do, like you're not really feeling what they're feeling, but then it
Right.
triggers other things. And now you look up and you're in the midst of a situation that you really had nothing to do with or that you didn't even intend to be involved in.
Right.
So that can be very very detrimental. uh
Mm-hmm.
but thank you for sharing that.
You're
Mr.
welcome.
Bradley, your turn.
Yeah, Patrick took the words right out of my mouth. As far as when someone pissed me off and stuff like that, do something like I express myself with words. As far as violence go, I realize violence don't get nothing but more violence. So, it's like when I see someone, a certain person coming my way, like, oh, here come this asshole again. But I'm already prepared. It's the thought I know what's supposed to happen, some negative shit about to be said. But, I always, just like Patrick says, a thought of trauma, that something happened in the past is always that thought. You're thinking about what happened, and it's like, fear kicking in and stuff like that. It's like trauma, or being scared or being mad, or like you said, someone driving fast and stuff, and you think about what happened in the past and stuff, and you don't want them to drive fast. And so, you express yourself and you ask them to slow down and stuff like that. And that's what I do when it comes to anything negative dealing with other people. But then again, I always respect other people's opinion. They might be their way of expressing themselves and things, doing things they're not normally used to doing, or don't have the coping mechanism to deal with certain situations or deal with their own anger. Then they take it out on other people and stuff like that. It's like, that's how I look at life in a different way. I don't look at it when I was young, 24 years old. I look at it as, people got issues, and, they don't know how to deal with the way other people know how to deal with their anger.
Now when you were young and you were in your 20s, what would, so if I made you angry when you were in your 20s, what would be the difference then
Well,
versus?
I thought then violence was a solution to any problem. If someone's arguing with me, we weren't gonna argue. There's gonna be some fist flying and stuff like that, because I used to think that's the way we handle our anger, our frustration. They said, why argue with the person? Just go ahead and put hands on them. But now I understand. that was barbaric and stuff like that. You know, it's best to go ahead and talk when I disagree or someone disagree with me. We'll talk. We don't argue. We don't raise our voice. We talk. I learned how to just talk to that person, listen to that person. That person put their point of view across, and I get a chance to put my point of view across, and we just talk. And just like they say, when you're breathing and stuff, taking these deep breaths, you know, you don't have time to be angry because these deep breaths calms you down. And so when a person gets mad, you hear about just breathe, just relax and breathe. That automatic calm you down so you can be able to talk to one another.
It does, and it does
Yeah.
help. It does help. Some people don't think it helps, but it does. The
Yeah,
breathing
yeah.
exercises, counting backwards, all of those things do tend to help because they give you space to focus on something else other
And
than
my
your
brothers,
anger or other than the emotions that you're feeling at that time. So that's pretty good.
and when it comes to my brothers, when it comes to my brothers now, you know, all of them dominant males and stuff, they all like challenge one another. But now that, you know, I'm home and stuff, like I said, I learned all these different coping tools to deal with that. I talk to them now, they starting to do the same thing
How many
because it's
brothers
like
you have?
they look forward. I had 7 of them, but I got 4 of them left now. You know,
Wow.
different mothers, different fathers, and stuff like that. You know, they ain't all from the same parents, but we all, you know,
Brothers.
associated. We all like dominant males, and so it's like, you know, we all been to prison and stuff like that. So, yeah, I'm the one who took these self-help groups serious because I saw how much it helped me, and I could use these also help others to help me in society because I got to be able to associate and deal with people, you know, who went through things I went through, who felt like I once felt and stuff. So it's like, you know, my the negativity people come at me and stuff with or try to come at me with, you know, I let them know, yes, I've been there before. I understand where you're coming from. You're hurting. Most of them be hurting right then. And that anger, they take that hurt, turn that anger. They try to, you know, use that for ask for help because they don't know what to do, all that pain and anger, the trauma that they're dealing with inside. And so by me, you know, having some experience that they're dealing with now, I'm able to help them with it. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. Miss Di.
Well, that's like me and roller coasters. I enjoy the ride, but I get real anxiety for getting on them. I get to breathing real hard, my hands sweating. You know what I'm saying? But like the first time I had been to music park in a long time, and they kept saying, "Let's get on, let's get on." I was like, "Okay," but I was really scared, but I didn't want them to know I was scared. And a little girl, she wasn't no more than 7. She was like, "You scared?" Me, you know, having that sarcastic mouth. I said, "Where's your mama? Where's your mama?" And you know, I was scared. I didn't want everybody to know I was scared. And she just like
Called you out.
That made me mad. Like, this is little girl to tell me when I'm scared. Go, where's your mama? Go find your mama. Like, yeah, but it's just like that's just life too. You know, you get into people and family, and they do things. You have to learn how to cope with it better than normal and regular. Because back then, my anger, you know, my mouth was slick. It's still slick, but it's a lot better now. So when people call me with stuff now, like, you know, I had a call from my niece again. You know, I'm better to deal with her and talk with her because I see, like I told her, you have some trauma you need to deal with, baby, because you acting out. You need some help. You don't want to admit it, but you need some help, baby. And I'm telling you, need some help. Mm-hmm. But I think, you know, I handled it in the right way. And she took it like, yeah, okay, auntie, I think you're right. Like, yeah, you need some help, mama. You down there in out what was that? She in Atlanta by herself. You know what I'm saying? You dealing with a lot of stuff because you by yourself. Your mom and them was with you. They left, went somewhere. Your brother was with you. He left, went somewhere. You down there all by yourself, and you dealing with a lot of things by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Help, and I try as best I can, as often as I can, because she's so far away.
Yeah. So thank you, James. What about you? How about James dealing with emotions, negative emotions, and consequences for that, or what?
I'm like the brother. I used to think that fighting a gun is my issue.
For some reason, all of a sudden, you're breaking up.
You know,
I'm not sure why.
I said guns and fighting. Can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
Guns and fighting used to be my first reaction. I didn't want to waste too much time with words because a lot of words I had, half of these dudes couldn't understand what I was saying anyway. So I was quick to fight, quick to pull my pistol, whoop on him. And if it got to where he didn't want to stop, then I shot him.
Mm-hmm.
That was just it. That's how we dealt with it. Now that I've been 26 years in prison, and I call it 26 years of rehab, I worked on me.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't nothing to distract. So I could be together. And the first thing I did was made a declaration to my higher power that black on black crime, black on brown crime, black on white crime does not exist in my life anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I found a way to use the words that's common amongst the people, so they don't feel like I'm talking over them, or they don't feel like I'm challenging them, or they don't feel like I'm testing their ego, their emotions, because that's how a lot of people react is off how you, and that's when you get them ugly results.
Right. The ego kicks in. The ego kicks in, and now I have to defend my stature, my position, or whatever, so that I don't feel
right. And I trip off of. I have to tell myself, I've been through the groups, they haven't.
Mm.
So I have to remind myself that too, constantly.
Mm-hmm.
I've been through hell. I'm still going through hell. I'm not going to ruin all this self-help I've been doing on me for 2 minutes of whooping on you.
Right.
So
they're not worth it. They're not worth it.
It's not.
And it's not that sometimes people don't even deserve to be whooped on or aggressive. It's just that it's not worth the consequences of doing that. Sometimes
I used to have a saying. I used to tell people I got 10 good minutes and 5 of us in the backseat of a police car.
Whew. That's not a nice.
And then I realized it was less than that in a police chase on my crime. So I said, God damn, I was lying to me.
To yourself. Oh, isn't that the worst thing ever? Lying to yourself.
I learned to kick that statement out my mouth. Now I believe in, I teach people how to treat me.
Mm-hmm.
And I
that's by your behavior and what you participate in, what you engage in, what you allow, what you permit, what boundaries you set or don't set. You know, those are the things. That's how we teach people how to treat us.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Did you want to have something to say? Did you have a comment on this or?
No, he better say something.
Oh, shut up. I just believe in saying what I think, and I don't really give a damn if you like it or not. I mean, I'm not afraid of nobody. I don't care shit how big you are. You fall easy. I've always been that way.
But let me ask you this though, with your emotions, how is it different now than it was when you were younger?
When I was younger, I just shoot you.
Oh.
I'm not telling no lie.
No, yeah.
I was a dangerous person.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I won't shoot you now, but that you force me to.
Mm-hmm.
I won't allow nobody to put their hands on me. I don't care who they are. And you know, you can stand there and cuss at me all you want, but don't put your hands on me.
Yeah.
I don't. And you talk about past times. I remember one time I spent 3 hours in the stairwell down here at the glass house.
Mm-hmm.
That punk ass cop beat me for 3 hours in that thing. And when I got finally up to the 3rd floor, they wanted me to go back down to the first store where the clinic was. I told them, you know, my ass, I ain't going. Yeah, this guy's standing there. Yeah, let's hop back down there because he had me cuffed and he had my legs bound with that plastic because they're cowards. But I can't sit somewhere, and if you say something to me, and if I can't say my true opinion, then I won't say nothing, or I'll step away. Because you know it's just like inside. There's all that racial shit used to drive me up the damn wall. You know, to me, there's no one race better than another. And if you think your race is better than another race, there's something wrong with you.
Right. It's just the human race.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've always said I think everybody should be green. You know what I mean? But then it would be tall, short, and fat.
Yeah, people would begin to find ways to separate each other, because that is the way that other people gain control. You have to remember that the whole notion of color and all of that was the tool of slave owners to get poor white people to be on board with slavery. That was the only thing they could use. So that differentiated them from the slave was the color of their skin. So that's where that started. And so, and they were very careful, and they understood that when you start separating the difference between old and young, and they start using all of those things, but the primary thing being color of skin, which is just silliness. Tony, any particular comments from you?
You know, understanding your growth as a person, and us talking about how we are today versus how we were yesterday, and you know, understanding in even the prior relationship that I was in, you know, for me, I told him that it was, for me, in a toxic place, and I didn't like the behaviors that came from the both of us, and so I decided to walk away. And he wasn't ready for me to walk away, but I did, you know, and I said, I say my piece and I walk away. And, you know, it came a time where it was, I believe it was his birthday, you know, and I said, you know, despite our differences, I want to wish you a happy birthday. And he said something smart, Alec, you know, and my first thought was rip his asshole out, but I didn't. And I just decided not to respond at all. And you know, months later, he was like, happy Mother's Day. I hope all is well for you. And I didn't respond, and ran across a mutual friend, and they were like, you know, well, you know, I think he thought about what he said and so on and so forth. I said, he's thought about what he said because I could have went back and forth and had that negative dialogue, and we could have been yap, 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 yap. But what I did, what I learned in my own growth was I left that negative comment on top of that happy Mother's Day. And I didn't comment in the months between, during, or after. And that's what he's left with. He either erases the entire thread, or if he decides to pull me back up to say even hello, the last thing he said was or the last two things he said was a negative comment. And then that piece of him trying to figure out what my headspace was. And I just decided not to comment at all. Before, I'd have probably been there with, you know, Molotov cocktail ready to throw through his window, or, you know, put some sugar in his gas tank. But those things don't serve purpose. And when you do something negative to somebody and they come back and do something negative, you're so appalled, you're so hurt, you're so, you know, why would they do that? Their only thing is they're giving you a negative reaction to your reaction. You don't have the ability to control other people, but you have the ability to control yourself. And so in my growth, I've learned my own self-control, and that's the best thing that I got home. is my own self-control.
And you know what I want to say about that? Something you said what you did in effect was you took the power out of his negative comment.
Absolutely.
You maintained your power over yourself. You maintained your power over your emotions, because of course, like you said, you felt the feelings of anger, whatever you felt, but you just didn't respond to those feelings the way you would have in the past, which is huge growth. When we begin to control our emotions, we begin to control our lives in a much better way. And I've been dealing with so many things over the past week, and being unemotional about them, removing my emotions and my feelings from it, and only looking at the circumstances from business perspective. What must I do to protect the company? What must I do in this regard? And only looking at those things, it has prevented me, number one, from being upset all the time. And number two, prevented escalation in potentially volatile situations, not even potentially volatile situations that didn't lead to more reactions and responses and reactions to that. So what you did essentially, and what I was doing, is maintaining the power that I have over myself. Forget the other people. I cannot control them, but all I can do and all I'm responsible for is me and what I'm responsible for. So a lot of this being in relationship to my employment. And so I have to protect the organization to keep my paycheck coming. And then I have to protect myself physically and emotionally. And so, but not allowing it to be the negative emotions that normally would have been there years ago. And let me say this too. It reminds me of this, is that one of the things that I used to feel the need to do was to explain or defend myself. And that causes us to start having conversations and trying to get people to understand and see our point of view and make sure that they know that we didn't do what they accused us of. And I don't do that anymore because it doesn't work. And that's why I don't do it anymore, because it doesn't work. A person who has decided that you are going to be the villain in their movie, that's the role you're assigned. And it's not going to change their opinion. It's not going to change their behavior towards you. It's not going to change any of those things. All it does is, because if you say in your explanation, we were 5 feet away from going off the cliff. No, it wasn't. It was 8 feet away. And that's why I say you a liar. Okay, and now you start talking about the difference between 5 feet and 8 feet. And in reality, that has nothing, it has no substantive value, but it allows them to take you on a detour into stuff that's irrelevant to keep the conversation going and to continue to pick at you and accuse you of being something that you're not. And so by simply maintaining my power, and that is what I found is one of the best tools ever, is simply not to respond at all.
You know, when I was having trouble with Monique, that's what I did.
Just ignore it.
Yeah, I went like 2 months. I didn't hardly say 2 words to her. You know, she was telling me, you know, when I asked you about the parking space and shit, and then she blew up on me. I told her, how you gonna tell me what to say to Noreen? Who the fuck are you? And after that, I just signed her off.
And eventually she came back because she felt at somewhere along the way, she felt that she was inappropriate. And if nothing else, she knew that you weren't going to give the situation any power.
No.
And so it all worked itself out. But again, that's why I found a lot of it is, that's really powerful, Tony, is to just don't respond. It is as effective as any tool that I've ever seen. Silence was the most powerful language I ever learned to speak. Yeah. It is. Silence is golden for a reason, right? right? So, Miss Cheryl, instances for you are of, where potentially responding to emotions in a negative way may have caused consequences, or how do you deal differently with emotions today than you may have some years ago?
Up until I was 27, I would fight in the street if anybody called me a reaction skit. And one of my friends said to me, "Why do you fight? Because you're wrong." And so I stopped. And so when people would call me that, I just say thank you. But now I don't know. Sometimes I get upset and I want to fight. And sometimes I get upset and don't want to fight.
Mm-hmm.
All depends.
Mm-hmm. And it's, that old saying my mother used to say, or the kids used to say when we were young, sticks and stones can break my bones, but names would never hurt me. And my mother used to tell me all the time, people can say talk is cheap, and nobody cares what anybody says about you. Just because they say it doesn't make it true.
You know, when I was a kid, I used to fight like hell in school,
Mm-hmm.
all behind one word.
What was that?
Cracker.
Really?
Yep. You call me a cracker, I'm cracking your head. And it's not that I thought that the word was powerful. I just knew it was an insult.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but not saying I never used the word,
Right.
Nigger or anything like that. Because when he called me a cracker, I called him a nigger.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we fought.
Right.
But I used to love to fight. I'm talking about my principal, and this is no bullshit. If he didn't hit me with that paddle 4 times a week, he was a weak son of a bitch.
Wow.
And then he wasn't allowed to hit you but 3 times, right?
Oh my goodness.
So he'd get me in front of the classroom and he'd say, "How many you want? 2 or 3?" I used to tell him the same thing every time. Whatever your fucking arm would hold out.
Wow.
And I would not cry. And he'd bring his arm as far back.
And this is, and mind you, keep this in mind. This is as a young kid. This is, we're not talking teenage years, because by teenage years you were already incarcerated.
Yeah.
So this is a person, we talking somebody under 11 years old.
Yeah, you're talking grade school.
Grade school. Right.
Only paddle grade school kids.
Right. So this was the response. So what I want to make sure.
You know what my mom told that bastard?
What?
She says, "I don't mind you whooping Bobby, but you better not put your hands on my sister." Because my dad would kill him.
Mm-hmm.
My dad was a big dude, and Joycey was his little pumpkin.
Mm-hmm.
But I sitting there listening to her, and when she told him he whooped me anytime he felt like it, I kind of looked at her like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah. I wonder why that was. Who knows?
Because she knew I was a little bastard.
Okay. Oh, she knew you was bad. You deserved a whooping. Well, that ought to clear that up. So listen. So I want to share the screen again. So now, dealing with negative emotions. In work or school, you will have to deal with negative emotions. Anger, frustration, disappointment, and irritation are some negative emotions. It is important to remember that you cannot prevent these emotions. However, you can use certain strategies to control them. And at this point, we've been talking about a lot of, all of us have discussed different things that we use to cope and control them.
Isn't that what you're talking about as older people?
No, this is anybody, even kids.
What we got? What you mean, older people? Everybody has emotions.
Hell, you're old. You got emotions.
But wait, controlling your emotions will make situations better for you and the people around you. The following principles will help you control negative emotions. There are many ways to make a situation less negative. Here are some important rules that will help you do this. Control the sound of your voice. Choose your words carefully. Avoid negative words or phrases. And I have found that to be very, very helpful in communication with people, not saying you always and you never and why you don't and you get on my nerves because you always. Those things immediately put somebody on a defensive, and people begin to defend themselves. So neutral statements do not pass judgment on the other person or make you look better at the other person's expense. You can share feelings like anger, frustration, or sadness without being too negative. Practice counting to 10 before acting. So we talked about that. I prefer that we count backwards, because you have to concentrate a little bit more to count backwards from 10 than you do to go forward from 1 to 10. So think about your emotional reaction. Sometimes we have strong feelings because of our thoughts about a situation, because of what we think about a situation. And I'm going to stop sharing here, and I want to say this. I know that, thank you. I know that a lot of times nowadays we talk about triggers, things that trigger people, that, you know, circumstances will come up, and this is a trigger for me. People will say that this is causing me to have feelings about the old situations or whatever. Well, and when we talked about the difference between being respected and feeling disrespected, and actually being disrespected, the difference between the two, a lot of it has to do with what we think about or how we feel about a particular situation, what we think is going on in that moment. If, for example, if I believe that a person is smarter than me because they have a degree, every time they say something to me, I'm going to assume that they're belittling me, because I feel belittled. In my head,
What?
I'm belittled to them if that's what I believe about myself.
I think that I ain't.
But I'm just using a hypothetical.
Yeah, but I ain't popping your bubble or nothing. I know you're a hell of a lot smarter than me. And I know you more educated than I'll ever be. But when we talk on that level.
We sure do. We sure do.
Yeah, I don't.
Well, you know, for me, from a spiritual standpoint, the Bible, it'll talk about speaking in tongues. There's no sense in speaking all highfalutin and don't nobody understand what you're saying. The point is to communicate. You know what I mean? So why would I speak a bunch of language that I don't even think? Plus, I want to communicate with you.
Yeah, but
I want to know what you know. Yeah, because it doesn't. To me, it's just silliness. What is the point of me using a bunch of big words or whatever and talking about stuff that? I mean, to me, that's silliness. You know, I just
interject process right here, because the difference is in the relationship. She has never put you on the defense.
Right.
Okay.
No.
So in the relationship where you understand that she has attained a certain level, whether it be a degree or whether it be a position, you understand that about her.
Yeah.
But in the communication process, she doesn't come across to you as having hierarchy over you. She comes across to you the same way you come to her. Right. So, but if she comes to you and she
I miss my Cheryl.
Something of the nature of, you know, hi, for your edification, we have to assimilate to do this and that. And she starts using these words, right?
Yeah.
And you looking at her like, what the fuck is she talking about? She's never done that to you. But
do you know that those words you said, I understand them?
Mm-hmm. But I'm saying, I'm just giving you an example.
I'm just saying.
Right. But I'm giving you an example. Let's say that you didn't understand those words, but I'm just giving you an example. When you pitch your position against another person, knowing full well that person may not equate to you on paper, you're disrespecting that person. Right. And there's a lot of people who put the paper before the person. I tell, and I've told people this several times, I don't give a shit what degree you have. I don't care. I have a master's in education of the street. I've never been to jail. I've never been to prison, but I have had the intelligence to compete with someone who has a degree, as well as understand somebody that's on the street. But a lot of times people who have the degrees, they begin to think that they're
smarter.
better than you.
Yeah.
You know, because you have a degree, it doesn't mean that you're better than me. It doesn't mean that you're smarter than me. But they take that and they run with it and think, oh, I have this authority over you because I have this degree. I need you to do what I say. She's never come across to you that way. She's always treated you as a person. And that's why you interjected and said that to her.
That's why I don't miss meetings.
But it happened every day. It happens
every day. Every day.
Yeah,
every day. And people use whatever they can use to try to make themselves feel higher and superior to other people. When in reality, it doesn't mean anything. I mean, I worked for lawyers who had passed the bar exam and they still couldn't write. And I would rewrite their stuff for them because it just didn't make any sense. So, but for me, it's about communication. I really want to have, if I'm gonna spend the time to have a conversation with you, I want us to communicate one with another. I want us to get some understanding. There's no point for me in us talking if it's just to hear me talk. I can go and look at myself in the mirror and talk if I just want to hear myself talk. I mean, that's just silliness. To me, it's pointless. And so I'm grateful that that I don't feel the need to feel better than anybody else. But what happens is, but the point of this being that the emotions from someone who believes that someone else is better than them. See, that's the real hard part, is what you believe about yourself. And if you believe that about yourself, you tend to feel a certain way. Your feelings come up when the other person says something. You begin immediately to say they're trying to do this. No, not necessarily. It's because of what you feel.
It's your personal feelings.
Quick to take
it out of context and take offense because you think, it's like my cousin and I, we always had this saying when somebody said, you think you cute. And we would say, no, you must think I'm cute if you say, I think I'm cute. Right? Because in order, you can't possibly think I think I'm cute if you think I'm ugly. Right? So no, it's really about what you think. You know what I mean? And that's where it comes. And this is how people, again, begin to play on our emotions. If they know, I'll use an example. A guy I was dating many, many years ago, at the time, he knew I was sensitive about my hair and about my weight. So he would always, pick those things to pick an argument with me about. Listen, at this point, you would be hard pressed to even make me. I told you guys before about the lady that called me a bald head bitch, a fat bald head bitch. And it really had no effect on me at all, because I just don't care. I don't care what you think. I'm okay with me, and I realized no matter how fat I was or not, it didn't matter, so it was more about how I felt about myself. I just had a conversation with a friend of mine this weekend, and she was telling me that, so she wears this hair, and at one point she was wearing her natural hair and it was short, and she was saying, well, it's just that when I have my hair, people treat me differently. I said, no. I said, let me tell you what it is. You feel differently when you have your hair. You feel like you look more beautiful with the long hair and all this stuff. So what happens is you carry yourself different and people treat you different. I said, there's a saying, when you smile, the world smiles back. So what you were getting was what you were giving off. You felt invisible. You didn't feel pretty. You didn't feel confident when you went out without your long hair. So now you got treated, and anything that happened, you attributed it to, I don't have my hair on, and like, and the thing of it is, don't nobody believe that's your hair, honey. Nobody believes that.
Jody came in here.
You see what I'm saying? Nobody believes that it's your hair. So the reality is that it has nothing to do with your hair. It has everything to do with how you feel about yourself. So I just want to encourage us. I want to give everybody an opportunity. If you have any last comments on the topic, because we're gonna cut it kind of short today. It's already 7, but I just want to make sure any last comments on the topic. All right.
We just need to understand what we feel and not react to them in a negative way.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. Mr. Bradley, anything from you, sweetie, before we cut it short tonight?
Well, yeah, to me, there's nothing wrong with expressing your anger and stuff like that on, do it in a way that, hurt another person. Because, in fact, I ran across people out here who had strokes and stuff because they kept that anger or that frustration in, voicing their opinion, how they felt. So it built up so much, they ended up having strokes and all this type of stuff. So
that's
it's
for
good
sure, isn't it, Mr. Bradley?
to express yourself just like they got, just like they got punching bag. They tell you when you angry, take out a punching bag, release that stress, release that anger in a positive way. And that's what I think people need to do, release it in a positive way.
Thank you. Hold on one second. What's your issue, baby? What's going on, Shug? Okay, so can you excuse yourself? Go ahead out. Thank you. Have a good day. Sorry about that. We just had a little fella trying to get some attention. And here at Free to Heal, we understand we all been them little kids needing a little attention. Just give him a little attention, let him go on about his business.
That's the one I was telling you with his pants below his
So
head.
in any event, were you finished, Mr. Bradley? I apologize.
I don't.
Oh yeah, I'll finish.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Di.
No, the topic today was good as usual. Everybody's, it's just that you do have to feel and learn how to control your own emotions instead of letting other people control your emotions for you. Yeah. And it's really hard for people to understand that and do that because they always so used to pointing fingers at someone else. It's always someone else's fault. Why this happened, or they laughed at me, or they looked at me, or they said this to me. No, you got to learn how to control yourself first. Don't worry about nobody else, but control yourself.
Right. I read something and I actually reposted it. It's like oh gosh, the thought just went out of my head. James, you should open your eyes and talk to us.
Is he in the car asleep?
Nope, he's somewhere else asleep.
Oh, wow.
I can't hear you, sweetie. And you're not muted. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, my earpiece went dead.
Oh, okay.
No,
so
I wasn't.
Your head.
I was doing more listening and meditating with the words that was coming because, this is a time that I really need this and I really need to understand. It's like prioritizing your feelings, your actions, and your thoughts all at once. It's like trying to figure out. Like I said, I'm still trying to get my feet on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
This was a major blow because the one that got killed, we talked every day. Mm-hmm. And I was like a mentor to him because he was so lost with the family around him that when I came home, he reached out to me and I became his mentor. So I was working hard on him as well as, trying to give him some other ways of looking at life other than what he was presented from a child. And that was the same thing that we were talking about today was violence was the key to all answers.
Yeah.
So, he was a truck driver. He took care of his family. Like I said, his wife didn't have to work. She was homeschooling the kids. So he was doing his thing. He was really living a good life. He just had it was just that 1/3 of his life that needed peace. And I was using my self-help to help him.
Mm-hmm. I remember what it was. What it was that it's like healing. It says something like healing doesn't mean the trauma never happened. It's just that it no longer has the power to control your life.
Right.
And I think that is so powerful because that's what it is with anger and moving beyond. Like when you say I'm over something or I got past this situation or I'm healed from it. You know you're healed when it no longer has the power to make you emotional anymore. When you can talk about a situation and you're no longer totally emotional about it, that's a sign that you have healed. Or when you feel the emotion coming down, that means you have begun the healing process, because you no longer give those things power to control your life every day. And I want to ask the folks in the room, any last words from you, darling?
I agree 110%. Progress is a process, period, point. What you go through today, James, it doesn't provide comfort for those other people that have gone through it, but it's necessary steps that are being processed in your head to get to the next level. What you do, you definitely have to educate and humanize yourself in this process.
Wonderful.
So that you can keep your head.
Miss Cheryl, any last comments for you, dear?
I just wanted Tony to say the thing that she says to us all the time about listening, because I think it has a lot to do with your anger and you get mad, but you don't have to go back to Tony.
Okay.
Because people listen to respond instead of listening to understand. If you're always listening to respond, you formulated your response before that person even finishes what they really have to say. And so learning that process of listening to understand versus listening to respond really helps.
It is. It's very powerful. It's part of, we teach it in terms of effective listening. Mm-hmm. Effective listening is definitely, you got to listen to hear and understand versus listening to respond. Because like you say, you miss so much because you're so busy formulating your response, you don't hear the end of the sentence. But. Yeah, right. Any last comments from you, sir? Any on the topic?
Big boy, I am sorry for you.
You hear him, James?
Yeah. Thank you, big bro. I'll be there next week. For sure, for sure.
Well, I kind of need you. We're outnumbered.
Oh my goodness. Oh my God. Here he goes. Here he goes. Look, he don't mind me being outnumbered by you guys, but he don't want y'all outnumbered by us. Whatever, guys. This is Free to Heal. We're a family of formerly incarcerated loved ones, children, and we are here trying to heal from the ravages of incarceration, of mass incarceration, making sure that those things that happen to us no longer have the power to control our lives. And so I just want to thank you guys for being here. You can catch us on all social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. By all means, please leave us comments. Any topics that you want us to discuss, please put it in the comment section, and we will see you all next week.
Send me a check.
No, we're not asking for checks, okay?
Them check his pockets.
Not doing checks.